Hey everyone, hello, welcome. This is Jen Fishburne. Welcome back to Preterism Changes Everything. And we are still on the curse. So we've done the curse of the serpent and we've done the consequences for Eve because she wasn't really given a curse. And so now we're going to take a look at Adam. All right, so we're going to start in Genesis 3:17. And to Adam he said, "Because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your nostrils you shall eat food, till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return." Very familiar passage, right? I changed a couple words, you probably noticed. All right, so first, Jehovah curses the ground, not Adam directly. So we see that Adam and Eve were not cursed, but the serpent and the ground were cursed. So this curse on the ground was probably just a curse on the ground of the Garden of Eden. And then Jehovah gives Adam his threefold consequences. So everything's in threes here. And just so you know, I just like throwing in little things now and then. Pretty much, if you want to make a point about something, you do it in threes. When pastors go to Bible school, or seminary, or Bible college, whatever they want to call it, they teach them to make 3 points in their sermon, have a 3-point sermon, and under each of those 3 points, they're supposed to have 3 more sub-points and 3 more. So people do remember things in terms of 3. And I used to do a lot of product pitches, and now I do it in the financial services industry, but I do try to always do things in terms of 3s. And when I'm teaching, I try to do things in terms of 3s as well. So there is something to that, and we can find I love finding a lot of little natural principles hidden in scripture like that. So there's just something about God created us that way, that we remember things in terms of 3s. It's a way to drive home a point, is to put it in a group of 3. Now, I don't have time in doing these daily lessons to do a group of 3 of everything. I wish I did. Otherwise, I could make it really memorable. But anyway, if you're ever doing some kind of a writing or speaking or something, just remember that. Make sure that you've got 3 points, and that'll make it memorable, that you can drive it home that way. Or actually, there's a whole lot more you can do about that. Anyway, that's a side note there. Okay, so in pain you shall eat of it. So the word for pain there in Hebrew is itzaban, and that is the same word as the pain in labor for Eve. So was Adam going to go into labor? No, obviously not. So it just means it was a really painful toil. It was hard work, but it was very painful. So having children was going to be hard work for Eve, and it was also going to be very painful. Growing food now for Adam was going to be hard work, and it was going to be very, very painful. So both Adam and Eve their consequences are now, instead of the easy life, and they're going to have to work really, really hard, and it's going to be a lot of pain. So the second part for Adam was thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you. Now, thorns and thistles, they're not just rose bushes and cacti. I looked up a few of them so we could take a look here. Now, the Ark of the Covenant and the furniture in the tabernacle were made from acacia trees, and which they were very, very thorny trees. And then we have citrus trees, which can be thorny, as well as some berry bushes like the raspberries and the blackberries. Now, I used to pick those a lot when I was growing up, and I've been pricked many, many times from them. But I think that they were worth eating too. Then there's the hawthorn or the thorn apple tree, and the globe artichoke, and some herbs like cat's claw and barberry. And then we even have some carnivorous plants that eat insects that all have thorns and thistles. So there was and those are just kind of a broad brush type of overview, and there's a bunch more, of course. But sometimes it's hard for us to kind of think what it is, so I thought I'd throw in a few examples there. Now, were these thorns and thistles already created in the creation week when God said that everything that he created was good? I do think so. We don't actually see him creating any new plants here, or it doesn't appear so anyway. It seems that the Garden of Eden now had a certain set of trees and plants that were really good and easy to keep up and delicious to eat. But it didn't have any thorns and thistles in the garden, but the plants outside of the garden certainly could have had thorns and thistles during this time. So most likely those plants, the plants in the field, were already the kind that needed lots of work, and they had plenty of thorns and thistles, and the weeds grew readily, that kind of stuff. So the third one then was, you shall eat the plants of the field. So these plants there, the word there for plants, forgot what the word was, it really means green plants. And it's the same word as we saw in Creation Week when God created the plants, and the plants sprouted forth from the earth. Those were actually the green vegetables. That's what it is. It's green vegetables. So we can blame Adam for having to eat our vegetables every day, right? So no longer would they live the cushy life in the garden where they didn't have to work very hard for their food, but now Adam would have to work really, really hard for it. Painful work, thorns and thistles out of the garden for Adam. And the garden would eventually become probably like the rest of the ground of the earth. I mean, it just didn't grow up overnight with thorns and thistles and weeds and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, they had angels guarding it and all that, which we haven't gotten to. But eventually it would become, probably after the flood, definitely. I'm sure that whole thing was washed away, and when it grew back, when everything came back, it was just like the rest of the earth. And maybe long before that, because it was actually a long time after this happened before the flood came. All right. Now, you may have noticed that when I said that Adam would have to work by the sweat of his brow, that I actually didn't use the word brow, and I used the word nostrils. And the reason is because that is what the word is. So in Hebrew, it's the word af. And af means nostrils, or it's representative of the whole face, but it is the same word that it was used when Jehovah breathed breath into Adam's nostrils. That's the same word. So the sweat of his nostrils can also be equated with great anger. So that word is the same root word as anger. And so we can kind of picture that, right? If you get really, really angry and you're just huffing and puffing through your nostrils, breathing out really bad, really hard through your nostrils, almost like a snort, that's kind of anger. So it really had more to do with Adam having to work so hard that he would be breathing hard. And that's how hard he was going to have to work to grow the food from now on. Maybe he even got angry while he was out there in the field doing that painful work with all those thorns and thistles. So this is a whole picture that's being painted by these words. And that's one thing I love about the Hebrew language, is that it really does paint pictures in a way that we don't get in the English language. So I hope you enjoy kind of looking into that a little bit. So if you can imagine Adam out there, all these thorns and these thistles are poking him, and it hurts, right? I'm sure most of you have been poked by thorns and thistles, even just for a rose bush. It hurts. So that's happening over and over and over again for Adam. It was painful. God told him it's going to hurt all the time, and this is what you're going to have to do, and you're going to have to work so hard that you're just going to be blowing smoke. You're going to just be breathing hard. And Adam probably got angry a lot about that. And so we can see that this is really kind of what life is like. People get angry when they go to work and things don't work the way that they want them to. It's hard work. They have to do painful things, whether it's physically painful, or today we have a lot more emotional pain. We have a lot more mental pain. We have a lot more politics we have to deal with. We have a lot more of the stress. So there's all different kinds of pain. You know, we're not out there getting poked physically with the thorns, most of us, but we do have a lot of hard things that we have going on in life, and some people react with a lot of anger. So that's really what was going on. That was the curse that was given. No, back up. Those were the consequences that were given to Adam. The curse was to the ground. All right, now the word there for dust. from dust you came, and from dust you will go. The word there for dust is afar. I know it sounds just like af for nostrils, and I really was hoping that they were related, but they're not, because it would have been really, really cool connection there. So they're not. It just means that the dust just means dry earth, dry ground, dirt, dirt that's not real wet. So when the breath of life is gone, then Adam would go back to the dirt that he was created from, right? Now, why didn't that happen the moment that Adam and Eve ate the fruit? Was that the death that Jehovah threatened them with if they disobeyed? Why were Adam and Eve given consequences instead of dying a physical death that day? Didn't Jehovah say that they would die that day? So we're going to take a look at that soon. Okay, we're not going to talk about it today. Sorry, but I want to give you questions that you can think about. And if you have ideas on that, I would love for you to go ahead and post them in the comment section. You can post comments either on YouTube or in any of the Facebook groups. It doesn't matter to me where you post the comments. I do like hearing the comments. And I'm trying to remember to go to YouTube and actually check the comments, because that's not something I'm used to doing, but I am getting better at doing that, all right? So let me know. I know what a lot of people will think, but let's try to go with what it says and not something that we just make up, okay? If you haven't figured out by now, I'm not really a big fan of spiritualizing the text where it doesn't need to be spiritualized. So let's take a look and see what was really going on there. All right, now in Matthew 7:16, Jesus said, "You will recognize them," people, "by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles?" Now, Jesus was constantly referring back to stories that they would have known well. And so this was, again, a reference to the fall. And so he was a master, basically, at drawing out little things here and there, and people would have known what he was talking about, and it would have clicked with them immediately. Oh, wait a minute, those are the thorns and the thistles from the curse. All right, now speaking of which, when Jesus was crucified, we know that they put a crown of thorns. Let's see if I can do this. Whoops, hit my ceiling fan. We know that they put a crown of thorns on Jesus as well, right? But we don't know exactly what plant it was from, but I'm going to guess, I'm going to say it was highly likely that it was from the acacia plant, the acacia tree, which was the same one that they made the Ark of the Covenant and all of the furniture in the tabernacle. And I'm going to say that because that was the most common form of a thistle that they would have made something like that from. Now, it could have been from any of the others, but it seems to me like there was always these connections that were being made to connect the different pieces of the Bible together. Not just the Bible, I don't want to say that, the story. I do think of this as one whole story, and I think that this was definitely a connection there. Because when we get to the part about the tabernacle, we're going to see that Jesus is pictured in every aspect of the tabernacle. So why wouldn't it be even in the type of the wood? I do think it would be. All right, so Jesus' crown of thorns, when the crown of thorns was placed upon him, Jesus was the last Adam. And so as the last Adam, then he was taking that curse of the thorns and the thistles upon himself. The last Adam, I believe, fixed everything that the first Adam messed up. And so we're going to be looking at many, many more of those. All right, this was a little bit shorter one. That's good. So hope you guys have a good day, and we will pick up from here tomorrow. Talk to you later. Bye.